wake before the sun rises and slide out of bed to not disturb you. I put on my uniform, pull on my boots and duty gear. I look at you sleeping before I leave, telling you that I love you and kiss your cheek in my mind. I always say I'm coming home, but just in case. Today was that day I prayed would never come. I won't be coming home to you. You will get the knock on the door, the one that you never wanted. I just want you to know that I fought as hard as I could. I did my best. Know that I died doing my job, doing my service, and that I did it for you. The kids, strangers' kids, and people that hate me. Stand strong, my love. I am up above watching you now, still loving you, and waiting until I can see you again. Hang my badge up, my love. I will not need it anymore. Tell the kids I love them. I just hope I made you proud of me. I was a husband, a father, a friend, and a deputy. I was a human being just trying to do right.
Welcome, MOTORCOP Chronicles podcast. As you can guess from that opening, is unfortunately that time once again for the end of watch episode, and this one's gonna be a long one. Unfortunately, I always wish for one of them months, but we have none. Well, the month of April was horrible. Completely just horrible. There's a total of, I believe, 24. Yes, 24 in the line of duty deaths. That's a lot. Way too much. So we're gonna say each one of them's name. Try to give them a little something, because not too many people will, you know. So we'll get it started. We're going to start out with Deputy Sheriff Dramius Young from the Montgomery County Sheriff's Office in Alabama. End of watch was April the 5th, 2024. He was 21 years old. 2 years on the job. He is also a military veteran. Cause of death was an automobile crash. Deputy Sheriff Young succumbed to his injuries he received in a single vehicle crash on April the 3rd, 2024 in Montgomery County. At 7 p.m., Deputy Young was assisting deputies in a vehicle pursuit when his vehicle left the roadway and struck a tree. He was transported to the hospital where he succumbed to his critical injuries 2 days later. Deputy Young was a United States Army Reserve veteran and had served with the Montgomery County Sheriff's Office for 2 years. He is survived by his mother, father, 3 brothers, and 2 sisters. Next, we have Correctional Sergeant Andrew John Fott of the Illinois Department of Corrections. End of watch was Monday, April the 8th, 2024. He was 27 years old, 6 years on the job. Cause of death was an automobile crash. Correctional Sergeant Drew was killed in a vehicle collision at 7:30 a.m. He was en route to a tactical call at the Lawrence Correctional Center. As he passed another vehicle in heavy fog, he crashed into another car. The driver of the other car sustained minor injuries. Correctional Sergeant Fott had served with the Illinois Department of Corrections for 6 years and was assigned to the Tactical Response Team. He is survived by his parents and 8 siblings. Next, we have Chief of Police Stephen Allen Singer of Lake Lafayette Police Department in Missouri. End of watch was Monday, April the 8th, 2024. He was 48 years old, 20 years on the job. Cause of death was a heart attack. Chief of Police Singer suffered a fatal heart attack after several subjects fled from him near the dam at Lake Lafayette shortly before 6 p.m. He had responded to the dam for reports of people trespassing and driving utility task vehicles in the area. As he arrived at the scene, the subjects fled from him on the UTVs and he briefly pursued them. He then searched the area for the subjects before clearing the call. He returned home at the end of his shift where he suffered a fatal heart attack overnight. Chief Singer had served with the Lake Lafayette Police Department for 20 years. He had also served concurrently in a part-time capacity with the Lafayette County Sheriff's Office for 16 years. He is survived by his fiancée, 5 children, granddaughter, parents, and sibling. Next, we have Lieutenant Rodney Osborne from the Ohio Department of Rehabilitation and Corrections in Ohio. End of watch was Tuesday, April the 9th, 2024. His age is not available. He had 13 years on the job. Cause of death was inadvertent gunfire. Lieutenant Rodney Osborne was shot and killed during a training exercise at the Corrections Training Academy. He was training at the tactical firing range just before 11:30 a.m. when the incident occurred. Lieutenant Osborne had served with the Ohio Department of Rehabilitation and Corrections for 13 years, and he was assigned to the Southern Ohio Correctional Facility, serving on the Honor Guard Special Response Team and the statewide Special Tactics and Response Team. In the week prior to his death, he had received Employee of the Year recognition. He is survived by his wife and his 3 children. Next, we have Special Agent Derek Sheen Baer of the United States Postal Service, Postal Inspector General, U.S. Government. End of watch was Tuesday, April the 9th, 2024. He was 49 years old, 15 years on the job, military veteran. Cause of death was an automobile crash. Special Agent Sean was killed in a head-on vehicle crash at the intersection of Route 9 and Oakley Drive in Ranson, West Virginia at 1:50 p.m. An oncoming vehicle traveling at a high rate of speed ran a red light, then crossed the median and struck Agent Baer's department vehicle head-on. The agent and the other driver were both killed in the crash. The agent was a United States Coast Guard veteran. He had served with the United States Postal Service, Officer Inspector General for over 9 years, and as a federal law enforcement officer with the Department of State for over 4 years, the Department of Commerce for a year, and the Nuclear Regulatory Commission for over a year. He is survived by his wife and his 3 children. We have Police Officer Ross Bartlett from the Cresco Police Department in Nebraska. End of watch is Friday, April the 12th, 2024. He was 54 years old, 30 years on the job. Cause of death, automobile crash. Police Officer Ross was killed when his patrol car was struck by another vehicle as he conducted a traffic stop on southbound Highway 77 at about 7:35 p.m. He was sitting in his patrol car during the stop when a pickup truck struck his vehicle in the rear, pushing it into the car he had stopped. Bystanders attempted life-saving measures on the officer before he was flown to Bryan Health West Campus, where he succumbed to his injuries. The driver of the car he had stopped suffered serious injuries as a result of the collision. Officer Bartlett had served with the police department for 7 years and had also concurrently served as an investigator with the Nebraska Department of Correctional Services for 7 years. He had served a total of 30 years in law enforcement and had previously served with the Valentine Police Department, Boone County Sheriff's Office, Madison Police Department, Madison County Sheriff's Office, and Newman Grove Police Department. He has also served as a volunteer fighter with the Cresco Fire Department. We have Police Officer Joseph McKinney from the Memphis Police Department in Tennessee. End of watch was Friday, April the 12th, 2024. He was 26 years old, 3 years on the job. Cause of death was gunfire. Police Officer Joseph McKinney was shot and killed while investigating a suspicious vehicle at the intersection of Charter Avenue and Horn Lake Road at about 2 a.m. He and other officers were approaching the vehicle when the occupants opened fire on them. Officers returned fire before the car fled. The officers pursued the vehicle and took 2 wounded subjects into custody after it stopped. The adult subject died of his gunshot wounds, and the juvenile subject suffered critical gunshot wounds. The adult subject was out on bond from an arrest the previous month in which he had been charged with possession of a modified semi-automatic weapon and 2 counts of grand larceny related to vehicle thefts. Officer McKinney was transported to the Regional 1 hospital where he succumbed to his wounds. 2 other officers were wounded. Officer McKinney had served with the Memphis Police Department for over 3 years. He is survived by his wife. We have Sergeant William Marty Jackson II from Winchester Police Department in Kentucky. End of watch was Sunday, April the 14th, 2024. He was 73 years old, 51 years on the job. Cause of death was a heart attack. Sergeant Marty Jackson suffered a fatal heart attack after arresting a subject for disorderly conduct, public intoxication, and resisting arrest. At 3:56 a.m., Sergeant Jackson responded to a call for service at the Clark Regional Medical Center for a subject who was combative. The subject resisted arrest and a struggle ensued until additional officers were able to help subdue the subject. Afterwards, Sergeant Jackson felt shortness of breath and chest pains. At 7 p.m., he suffered a medical emergency while in his police cruiser. Sergeant Jackson was transported to the area hospital where, despite life-saving measures, he was unable to be revived. Sergeant Jackson had served with the Winchester Police Department for almost 47 years, and had previously served with the agency's police chief. He had previously served as the Paris Police Department for almost 4 years. He is survived by his wife, son, daughters, and grandchildren. We have Police Officer Michael E. Jensen from Syracuse Police Department in New York. End of watch Sunday, April the 14th, 2024. He was 29 years old, 2 years, 6 months on the job. Cause of death, gunfire. Police Officer Michael Jensen and Lieutenant Michael Husak of the Onondaga County Sheriff's Office were shot and killed while attempting to locate a subject who had led officers on a vehicle pursuit earlier in the night. The subject had fled from the Syracuse police officers when they attempted a traffic stop. As officers terminated the pursuit, then went to the home of Darren Drive in Salina, where the vehicle was registered. The officers requested assistance from the county sheriff's office after locating the vehicle at the home and observing firearms inside of it. As they set up a perimeter around the home, officers heard the subject manipulating a firearm inside. Lieutenant Husak was in the backyard of a neighboring home when the man emerged from the home and opened fire on him with the AR-15, fatally wounding him. The man then went to the front of the home where he exchanged shots with other officers, fatally wounding Officer Jensen. The subject was also shot and killed during the shootout. Officer Jensen has served with the Syracuse Police Department for 2.5 years and is survived by his parents and his sister. Lieutenant Michael Hustock, who's with the Onondaga County Sheriff's Office in New York, end of watch April 14th, 2024. He was 37 years old. He had 16 years on the job. He had also served with the Moyers Corners Fire Department. He is survived by his wife and his 3 children. We have Deputy Sheriff Fred Fissler of Hendricks County Sheriff's Office, Indiana. End of watch Tuesday, April 16th, 2024. He was 28 years old, 2 years, 5 months on the job. Also a military veteran. Cause of death, he was electrocuted. Deputy Sheriff Fred Fissler was electrocuted when he came into contact with live wires while investigating a crash scene on State Road 267 and County Road 300 at 11:57 p.m. on April 15th. While on the scene, witnesses noticed Deputy Fissler on the ground near the power lines and used his radio to call for help. He was transported to the hospital in critical condition and did not survive. Deputy Fissler was a United States Marine Corps veteran and had served with the Hendricks County Sheriff's Office for over 2.5 years. He is survived by his wife and his 2 young children. Investigator Brian Hebert, Osage Nation Police Department, Tribal Police. End of watch was Wednesday, April 17th, 2024. He was 56 years old, 28 years on the job, military veteran. Cause of death was a heart attack. Investigator Brian Hebert suffered a heart attack while qualifying at the shooting range in Oklahoma. After completing the pistol qualification, he started complaining of heartburn and feeling hot. While resting at 9:41 a.m., he fell over and went in and out of consciousness. Investigator Hebert was unable to be revived despite life-saving measures. Investigator Hebert was a United States Army veteran and had served with the Osage Nation Police Department for 7 years during his 28-year law enforcement career. He also served with the Collinsville Police Department in Oklahoma, Logan County Sheriff's Department in Oklahoma, Walters Police Department in Oklahoma, City of Sparta Police Department in Kentucky, Clay City Police Department, where he was an interim chief of police, Barnesdale Police Department in Oklahoma, and Oklahoma State University Police Department. He is survived by his wife, sister, uncle, mother-in-law, and brother-in-law. We have Deputy Sheriff Alfredo Freddy Flores from the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Office in California. End of watch was April 20th, 2024. His age is not available. He has 20 years on the job. Cause of death was fire. Deputy Sheriff Flores succumbed to injuries sustained 6 months earlier as a result of a fire inside of a mobile shooting range at the Pitchess Detention Center on the Old Road in Cassock. He and another deputy were inside the mobile shooting range built inside a 53-foot semi-trailer when equipment malfunction ignited a fire at about 9:30 a.m. on October the 10th, 2023. They both suffered severe burns before being rescued by fellow deputies and transported to the hospital. Deputies Flores succumbed to his injuries on April 20th, 2024. He had served with the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department for 20 years. He is survived by his wife, children, parents, and siblings. We have Police Officer Jordan Wingate from the Oakland Police Department in California. End of watch was Saturday, April 20th, 2024. He was 29 years old. He had 3 years on the job. Cause of death was an automobile crash. Police Officer Jordan Wingate succumbed to his injury sustained on August the 13th, 2018, while responding to a suspicious person call at the Port of Oakland. He was driving in the 1900 block of Middle Harbor Road at about 2:50 a.m. when a vehicle pulled into his path near Berth 55. Arthur Wingate's patrol SUV struck the vehicle and then struck a parked tractor trailer. Rescue personnel extracted him from the vehicle and transported him to a nearby hospital. He medically retired in 2020 and remained under medical care until succumbing to his injuries on April 20th, 2024. Officer Wingate had served with the Oakland Police Department for 3 years and had previously served as a cadet with the department. He was recognized as Rookie of the Year in 2018. We have Deputy Sheriff Tobin Bolter from the Ada County Sheriff's Office in Ohio. End of watch was Sunday, April the 21st, 2024. 27 years old. He had 7 years on the job. Cause of death was gunfire. Deputy Bolter succumbed to gunshot wounds sustained at about 9 p.m. the previous night while making a traffic stop near the intersection of West Overland Road and South Raymond Street in Boise. He had just exited his patrol car and was approaching the vehicle he stopped when the driver opened fire on him before fleeing. A witness to the shooting called 911 and performed CPR on the deputy before medics arrived, transported him to the local hospital. The subject was located near a home on South Jackson Street a short time later. He was shot and killed by the Boise police officers after opening fire on them as they attempted to take him into custody. It was later determined that the man was wanted. Deputy Bolter succumbed to his wounds at about 10 a.m. the following morning. Deputy Bolter had only served with the Ada County Sheriff's Office for 4 months. He had a total of 7 years in law enforcement experience and had previously served with the Meridian Police Department and the Pleasant Hill Police Departments in California. Next, we have police officer, I'm going to mess up the name, excuse me on this one. Police Officer Louis M. Husaka, or I can't pronounce it, it's Huesca. Chicago Police Department, Illinois. End of watch was April 21st, 2024. He was 30 years old, 6 years on the job. Cause of death was gunfire. Police Officer Lewis was shot and killed in the 3100 block of West 56th Street at about 2:55 a.m. while driving home following his shift. Other officers were alerted to the shooting by gunshot detectors in the area and located the officer suffering from gunshot wounds. He was still in uniform, but his gun and his badge had been stolen along with his personal vehicle. He was transported to the University of Chicago Medical Center where he succumbed to his wounds. The suspect was arrested on May the 1st, 2024. The officer had served with the Chicago Police Department for 6 years, and he was assigned to a priority response team. He is survived by his mother and his uncle. Next, we have Investigator John Hampton Cadu III from the Harris County Sheriff's Office in Texas. End of watch was April 23rd, 2024. He was 50 years old, 20 years on the job, military veteran. He was struck by a vehicle. Investigator John was struck and killed while helping at the scene of a vehicle crash on the Grand Parkway in Houston. At 9:30 a.m., Investigator Cadu responded to a minor collision near the Cumberland Ridge Drive intersection. He parked on the center median with his lights activated. A truck traveling north swerved to avoid hitting the patrol vehicle and struck the investigator in the median. He was transported by life flight to the hospital where he succumbed to his injuries. He had been a United States Army veteran and had served with the Harris County Sheriff's Office for 20 years. He is survived by his wife and his mother. We have Police Officer Kyle Hicks from Corpus Christie Police Department in Texas. End of watch Wednesday, April 24th, 2024. His age is not available. He had 4 years on the job. Cause of death was gunfire. Police officer Hicks succumbed to gunshot wounds sustained 4 days earlier while responding to a domestic disturbance. He and another officer located the apartment at about 12:30 a.m. and could hear a man and woman arguing inside. A male subject came to the door and a struggle ensued, during which Officer Hicks was shot. The other officer was able to return fire and kill the subject. Officer Hicks was transported to the local hospital where he succumbed to his wounds. His organs were donated. Officer Hicks had served with the Corpus Christi Police Department for 2.5 years. And he's survived by his wife and 4 children. Next, we have Sergeant Ian Taylor from the Bilshery Police Department in Massachusetts. End of watch is Friday, April 26, 2024. He was 49 years old, 21 years on the job. Cause of death, struck by a vehicle. Sergeant Taylor was struck and killed by a piece of construction equipment while working an overtime assignment at the intersection of Boston Road and Pollard Street at about 2 p.m. He was assisting a tractor trailer pass through the construction zone when he was struck by an excavator that was backing up. Sergeant Taylor was transported to the hospital where he succumbed to his injuries. Sergeant Taylor had served with the police department for 13 years and had previously served with the Lawrence Police Department for 8 years. He is survived by his wife and 3 children. His father is a retired Lawrence police detective, and his brother is a police detective. We have Police Officer Russell Croxton from the Duboc Police Department in Louisiana. End of watch was Saturday, April 27th, 2024. He was 51 years old. Tour of duty is not available. He was struck by a vehicle. Police Officer Russell was struck and killed by a tractor trailer while conducting a traffic stop on US 167 near Robert Lane shortly after 1 p.m. The vehicle he was pulling over stopped in the right travel lane of the 4-lane highway. As the officer spoke with the driver, a tractor trailer failed to move over and struck the back of his patrol truck before striking him and the other vehicle. He was transported to the local hospital where he succumbed to his injuries. Officer Craxton's father, Sergeant Raymond Craxton, was killed in the line of duty on May 23, 1978. When he was involved in a crash during a vehicle pursuit while serving with the Ruston Police Department. We have Police Officer Joshua Iyer from the Charlotte Mecklenburg Police Department in North Carolina. End of watch was Monday, April 29th, 2024. He was 31 years old, 6 years on the job. Cause of death was gunfire. Police Officer Joshua Iyer succumbed to his gunshot wounds he sustained while assisting and serving a warrant on a convicted felon. At 1:30 p.m., members of the U.S. Marshals, Carolina's Regional Fugitive Task Force, attempted to serve a felony warrant for possession of a firearm by a convicted felon. The wanted subject ambushed them with a high-powered rifle and engaged them in a prolonged gun battle. Investigator Sam Polish, Investigator Alden Elliott, and Deputy U.S. Marshal Thomas Weeks were killed on the scene. Officer Iyer succumbed to his wounds several hours later. 3 officers from the Charlotte Mecklenburg Police Department and a 2nd Deputy United States Marshals were also wounded. The wanted subject was shot and killed, and 2 subjects were taken into custody for questioning. Investigator Iyer had served with the police department for 6 years, was the Officer of the Month for April of 2024. He is survived by his wife and his 3-year-old son. Investigator Samuel Polish, North Carolina. Department of Adult Correction, North Carolina. His age was not available. Been on the job 14 years. Gunfire. He was with the other ones. He had served with the department for 14 years. He was assigned to the Special Operations and Intelligence Unit, and he is survived by his wife and his 2 children. Investigator William Alden Elliott from the North Carolina Department of Adult Correction, North Carolina. End of watch Monday, April 29th, 2024. His age not available. He had 14 years on the job. He has served with the department for 14 years and was assigned to the Special Operations and Intelligence Unit, and he is survived by his wife and his child. We have Deputy U.S. Marshal Thomas M. Weeks with the United States Department of Justice. End of watch Monday, April 29th, 2024. He was 48 years old, 21 years on the job. He is survived by his wife and his 4 children. And they had one K9 Riven, from the Virginia Department of Corrections. End of watch was April 2nd, 2024. The male dog, Belgian Malinois, 5 years old. Been on job 4 years, 9 months. It was stabbed. K9 was stabbed to death while trying to stop an attack on an inmate by 4 other inmates at the state prison. 3 inmates began violently assaulting another inmate as a 4th inmate watched. The K9 and his handler attempted to stop the attack and save the inmate's life. The 3 inmates kicked and stabbed the K9 repeatedly as officers responded to subdue the inmates. Despite life-saving measures, the K9 succumbed to his wounds. The handler did not sustain any serious injuries. The victim inmate was treated at a local hospital and returned to the prison. The 4 inmates involved in the attack were members of an MS-13 and were serving time for serious felonies such as homicide, attempted rape, abduction, child pornography, while being in the United States illegally. Dog had been with the Virginia Department of Corrections for almost 5 years. The dog's mother was actually a dog with the Secret Service, and the dog's dad had served with the police department in Virginia also. As I said before, there's way too many. Way too many. I apologize. My voice, my mouth's getting drying out and everything else. Too many. Please, please, please keep these all these men and women's families in you if you're praying type of person in your heart and prayers, or just keep them in your thoughts, because they're all heroes. You know, one man was 70-something years old, still working the streets. So let's hope next month, well, this month is much better, and I want everybody to stay safe. Always watch your back, watch your partner's back.